right now.
That's
All right,
awesome.
we're live. How are you?
Let me just like try to figure this part out over here. Okay, let me see.
That looks good. That looks good. All right. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on when and where you're watching this live. This is the voice and the face of Dr. Olabintan, CEO and co-founder of Livingspring Family Medical Center, where we help our patients live long and well, because we believe the quality of life is just as important as the quantity of life. And today we'll be having discussions that help improve the quality of life for not only babies but also their moms who care and parents who care for them. And today we'll be talking about the topic, Doc, my baby seems allergic to milk. Help me. And we're doing so with the only Dr. Evka Cesnek. Now, did I pronounce that right?
That's perfect. I love it.
Oh,
Sure.
yeah. Okay. I'm thinking. All right. Also, Doc, thank you so much for coming. I know you're busy. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming this morning.
I appreciate you too. Thank you so much for having me on your show. You are a rock star, and I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So, Doc, for those who are watching who are wondering, oh, by the way, if you're watching live, hashtag live, you're watching replay, hashtag replay. And I'd appreciate if you actually comment on what resonated most with you during this live. Now, that being said, Doc, can you please introduce yourself? Who are you and what do you do?
Thank you. So, my name is Dr. Evka Cesnek, as you can see on the screen. You probably can see on the screen. And I've been a family physician for about, 15 years. And I do courses. I see patients in a practice in New Jersey, and I write books and multiple books now. And with the list continue to grow. Some of the books you may know me better for would be things like the FPI's Handbook, which is about food protein-induced enterocolitis syndrome, or food allergies. And other ones, I have one about the colic handbook. I looked at all of the information about babies who just cry and cry and cry and cry that was like available in the literature, and combined it with my own clinical experience and created a book to help explain why babies cry so much in those first 3 months of life. Um, so that's kind of what brings me here. I want to talk more passionately about these topics because I think they deserve awareness, especially if your family is going through them. You know somebody who's going through them. They can be really, really stressful. Having a child with colic can be really stressful.
Mm,
Having
mm,
a child with pediatric feeding disorders, really, really hard for families. And food allergies, especially
mm,
like food protein-induced
mm,
enterocolitis syndrome years ago, was considered to be a more stressful condition than having a
mm.
child with, like, intestinal failure, which is hard.
Wow, wow. You're also a medical director. You're an online course creator. You're an online, and you're also a best-selling author. So I
Yeah.
love that. And you're also a thought leader in topics that has to do with both personal and professional experience. And you
Mhm.
do worldwide consults on food allergies, pediatric feeding challenges, and babies with colic.
Yeah.
Thank you for what you do, Doc. All right. We appreciate you for doing the things.
There
And then
is.
my next question to you is why did you go into this niche? What was
Oh
it
gosh.
for you?
One of the things I loved about family medicine in general is that it allows you to know a little bit about a lot of topics, or you can to delve very much into specific topics, especially
Mm,
that interest you. You can see children, you can see adults, you get a whole general viewpoint, and then you can niche down. And the things that I've niched down on are things that have really been important to me, partly because they stem from my own life experiences.
mm,
Like if I'm stressed about something in my own life, and as a physician, I kind of have a sense of where what I tell patients is, and
mm,
have I left? Have I reached the limits of what I can tell them? And what can I do to expand those limits a little bit further? What can I do to expand the knowledge base? Not just only like for everybody else, but also for me, because some of the conditions I read about, they occurred in my own life, and they were really stressful for me. Uh, and I get my sense of safety and security through having a little bit more of a control over a topic, and I get
mm,
that control through knowledge. So
mm.
if I didn't have the knowledge and it was really stressful for me, what was I going to do to help to increase both my knowledge as well as everybody else's?
I love how you said that you niche down, and then you got to a point where you knew your knowledge. like, okay, you've capped, and you needed to get more insight because it was also something that was personal to you. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. That is powerful. So get you a doctor who's able to find out, even if it cannot help you, but can also connect you to resources or find out more in a way that would help you.
That's it.
That
Like so with FAAFP, food protein induced enterocolitis syndrome, when I entered it, it was a known diagnosis. People all over the world had it probably for like centuries, but the guidelines of how to treat it weren't out yet. Depending upon who you spoke to, you were told something different. And that wasn't really helpful for me because I wanted like more clear-cut information.
right.
And in some of the support groups that we all enter when we're under stress or a child is having issues, some of the information that was disseminated there was inaccurate, and people were following it because they didn't know better. And so the specialists who knew about the topic, they were few and far between. It took forever to see them. Their visits were limited because there were so few of them and so many people wanted to see them.
Right.
And you had to live close to major academic centers, like close to New York City, and I live in New Jersey, so that was okay. But if you live in the middle of nowhere, it was really hard to get that access. So then what do you do? And for me, it was like going through all the literature, everything that's ever been discussed on the topic, and then creating a book about it, because books are available to lots and lots of different people. You could live anywhere and read a book. Books can give you a lot more information than you can get in a half-hour visit with a specialist. And they bring access to care. They bring much better medical access to care.
And I like that you're writing books that can help people in that topic too.
Yeah.
Not just from I'm a physician, I'm going to teach you how the diagnosis, but I've experienced this. Here are tips for my own life story.
That's
So
it.
this is good. Now, my next question to you is this: how do you generally know when a child is allergic to milk? Now we're talking infants, babies. What are tips?
If it's your first child, it might be hard to figure it out initially, because the kind of usually the first symptom, there's different types of allergies. So there's more of the severe allergies, like FAAFP, food protein induced enterocolitis syndrome, is on the more severe spectrum of it. But some children have what we consider to be just like milk intolerance, where their stool look different, they're more runny. There's some blood in it, and so extra mucus. Their stool looks like snot. But if you look at a baby, and just any baby, and you look at their stool and you compare their stool to our stool, the stool looks different to begin with. So you can't, like, unless you have other children and you remember what the stool looks like, it may take you a moment to say, oh, my child's stool doesn't look like normal stool. And ways you can tell that is, again, what I discussed, the mucus. Sometimes like green stool, reddish stool, stool that looks like has blood in it, stool that looks like more it's made of like nasal snot. Those are usually due to an intolerance that the baby's having, or almost like an allergic reaction to that to milk, to that food.
Okay. Now, for someone who's wondering, like, how is it possible? Like, is it something I did as a mom? Like, how is it possible that what I'm producing to my child is not good for them? What would you say to that mom who's like, oh my God, it must be something I ate. It must be something I did. Maybe if I didn't do this, what would you say to that mom?
Oh gosh, it's such a loaded question. So first of all, never blame yourself. Don't. Because you're doing the best you can for your child. And all of the reasons why babies have food allergies, where they have changes in their stool, or perhaps they vomit, or they have these rashes after eating food, a lot of them are not your fault. We don't even know what really is causing them. We have some suggestions, like maybe some changes in the gut microbiome, but we're still trying to figure all of it out. We're still trying to answer those questions. So don't blame yourself. You did nothing wrong. And then in terms of what you're eating, that's a hard question too. So if you're breastfeeding, that's great. If you're breastfeeding, the chances of your child having colic, having food allergies, it actually goes down a little bit. And because you break down the products, potential food allergens in the breast milk by the time it gets to your child.
Mm.
Because if they have like formula and they're on like a milk-based formula, then they're actually having more of those milk products. Now there's formulas that are much more broken down, like elemental
Mm.
those proteins, which are proteins are the most likely things to give you the allergies. But if you're just on regular standard formula, more likely to run into that, especially if there's a milk allergy, which is one of the more common ones.
Okay. So it's not the mother's fault. There are things you don't control. Breast milk in itself, is more broken down, so easier to digest. So it's usually ideal. But sometimes even that could be an issue. And so there's special formulas that are further broken down, meaning they're digested into smaller bits. So the baby's stomach doesn't have to work too hard to absorb the nutrients.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Awesome. So there's hope. Now, for someone who's watching, who's saying, are there ways I can prepare before the baby is born so I minimize the risk? Because they're like, I don't want this. I don't want to go through this. And, it sounds hard. And, but are there things I could do as a heads up to prevent this from happening or to prepare? What would you say to that question, Doc?
That's a really, really good question. So I'll give you 3 things you could try. The first is that they're still trying to figure all this out about food allergies in babies, just like we're trying to figure out a lot about babies with colic. But we do know that a baby's gut microbiome and what lives in the gut, what kind of bacteria and what kind of healthy bacteria live in the gut can make a difference in what kind of diseases they have or what kind of conditions they have. And that gut microbiome that the babies get, it starts in utero. And it starts with what you eat when you are pregnant and how that affects what they're colonized with when later. And also when you're breastfeeding, if you're breastfeeding, having probiotics and certain probiotics in your diet can help also bring those healthier probiotics into your baby's gut. And that will help them to hopefully mitigate some of these risks. So that was number 1. The number 2 is sometimes as parents, we give up on breastfeeding early. And breastfeeding is great for us. And part of the reason we give up on breastfeeding is because breastfeeding can be hard and there's nobody who teaches you how to do it. You're kind of supposed to just know often. And it can be a learned skill. And it's good to start practicing that skill and getting knowledge about it before your baby's born, because you're going to be overwhelmed with so many other things when your baby's born. So if you can learn which kind of breast pump to use, how to breastfeed, maybe go through some of those courses, that's really helpful. And number 3 way to kind of, if you have a child with food allergies, to kind of prepare yourself for it would be schedule those appointments, make those medical visits with your medical providers, so that if something does come up, you can ask those questions right away. And I would recommend my books, quite honestly. And again, once you have the baby, you'll your life changes when you have a baby, and you might not even know all the ways that it changes until that actually happens. And you might be busy. So I'd recommend, while you're still waiting for that baby, read the FPIES handbook or read my colic handbook to educate yourself about these conditions, because it'll be easier then for you to just recall the knowledge.
I love it. And I'm taking notes here. Tips to minimize the risk: eat healthy, have a good balanced diet. You also want to have healthy probiotics that helps with the biome or the gut bacteria, those little bacteria that help with digesting food for the baby as well as humans in general. Number 2, learn effective ways to be good at breastfeeding, because that's the best bet for the baby. And then number 3, have a team, have resources, and your books are available. And what we're going to do is we're going to have that link as to where people can purchase that book, because it's very, very important to have access to things before you get exposed to the things. So for those who are watching, you're expecting mom, you're a little nervous about some of these things, there are resources that can help guide you or prepare you for what's ahead. Doc, thank you so much. I have one final question. So someone who's watching, who's like, yes, Doc, I'm here. I'm that mom that has a baby with FPIES and it's frustrating and my baby cries a lot and it's hard. What would you say to encourage that mom who's watching, who's like, I'm about to pull out my hair? What would you say? Just a few words of encouragement.
This will get better. It will get better. Children outgrow this. They outgrow all the crying. They are many of them, most of them, the vast majority of them outgrow their food allergies. And so this is a moment of time. And this might be a moment of time that's hard, but it's temporary. And in the process, while you're going through this time, think about moments of gratitude. What can you be grateful for? So moments of gratitude that I found in my own journey was that I created a community around me. I created of other parents going through the same thing. We all need villages around us. So we live in a society where a lot of it is very much independence based, where you're like expected to do everything on your own or close to home without as much support. And the truth is that we all need villages and we all need families. And how do you create villages or families? Well, you have to have things that you have in common that bring you together. And one of the things that can bring you together is having a child with, having a baby like that, or a child that brings you, that's coming out of it. Another thing is going through some of these really hard challenges. In those really hard challenges that you're facing together, because you're not alone, so reach out. You will find your village. You will find those people who are going through similar things that you are. And in those moments of difficulties, those moments can bond you like very few other things can. So find gratitude in this hard time, because that'll help to propel you a little bit further. And figure out a way to like make things a little bit better for the people who go after you. So after you've learned about this, and that life becomes easier, because it will. Figure out a way to help the next group, the next number of individuals who are going through this, because somehow there's some healing in the process of taking experiences and trying to make other people's lives a little bit better.
I love that. That is powerful. There's power and there's healing even in trying to help other people who are going through what you have gone through better. That is powerful. That is powerful. And I love that you said to remember that it's a season. It's hard, but it's temporary. The vast majority of babies would outgrow. Sometimes when you're in it, it feels like this is unending. But it will get better. Dr. Evka has said it. And leaning to your community. It takes a village to raise a child, they say, right? But it takes a whole village still to keep that person thriving. And I've learned too that in learning to ask for help and leaning to your support systems, the level of impact you're able to make is actually astronomical compared to if you do everything by yourself.
Yeah.
So wow, this is good, Doc. This is good. This is good. I'm glad we had this discussion. And I look forward to us doing this again, maybe in a couple of months, to kind of come back here and encourage our clients who may be going through this. But Doc, I have people who are watching who are like, man, I like to meet a doctor who knows what my pain points are, not just from a medical background, but from an experiential standpoint. And they're saying, I want to have her come talk to my moms in my group, because we have a community of people who are going through this. I want her to come and talk to this group, or I want to reach out and connect with her. Doc, where can people find you?
I welcome both opportunities. Thank you, because really I feel like when we go through these challenges, like the challenges I went through, you must become a family with the other people who've gone through it, because you understand each other, and you understand how difficult moments, like having a child who just vomits and vomits and vomits all the time after you eat foods, and you try to figure out what's going on, or having a baby who just cries and cries and cries for like 10 hours a day for weeks upon weeks. Those moments are hard. They're really, really hard. And you don't have to be alone. And I would love to speak to you and give you guidance and pointers and research-based stuff that's supposed to help and work. So go on my website, evkamd.com, or I have a book club about parenting that I'm trying to get people to join, and reach out to me. evkamd.com is probably the best way. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. Now you mentioned your book. What is the name of your book? I need to put it here so people can Amazon it, Google it, so they know how to read it. What's the name of your book?
And the books keep increasing because I keep writing. So I have the FPIES handbook, so the Food Protein Induced Enterocolitis Syndrome handbook, and it's really about all food allergies. My child had FPIES, so that's the one it was about, and that was one of the most stressful ones. And then I also have the colic handbook, so about babies who just cry and cry and cry, because it's a really stressful period of time, and they say, well, there's no cause for colic, there's nothing you can do about it, and that's not true at all. I've gone through like hundreds of research articles, and this is probably a lot of information about it. So Dr. Eva Cesnek, Eva Cesnek is the book, and then I have another book called the Calcium Handbook about calcium disorders, and that's more for everybody, including adults, because sometimes as physicians we look at a calcium level that might be just slightly elevated and we don't do anything with it, when one of the most underdiagnosed medical conditions, endocrinological medical decisions, is hyperparathyroidism.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for all the resources you shared. Thank you for sharing from your personal experience. Thank you for empowering our clients today. And I've put all the information on how people can reach out to you, and also information about your book. So please, for those who are watching, share this, simply tag them in the comments or forward this video to them. They will thank you for it, directly or indirectly. All right. Thank you so much, Doc, for coming. It was so nice to see you again. I appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate you too. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And for those of you who are watching, thank you for joining us. I appreciate you on this morning, Monday morning, coming to hang out with us this morning. And if you or anyone you know is looking for a thorough, a passionate, and a caring family physician in the Mansfield, Texas area who will help you live long and well, I am she. Happy Monday. Have a great week, everyone. Thank you so much, Doc. Have a good one, okay?
Thank you.